Hello, everybody. I am here with third place
Third
in
place.
online survival. For Dom is joining us today. Dom, how's it going?
It's good. It's good, Nick. It's been a little run. You know what I'm saying? I've enjoyed just watching it, seeing the interaction, seeing folks really like dialed into it. It's pretty dope when you kind of see, the cast and how everything just kind of went full circle. So, it's been great. I've been able to just talk with a few of the cast, and I hope to be able to talk to everybody because there was definitely some sour notes, but I mean I felt like it was fun. I enjoyed every part of it.
Well, I'm glad you had fun. It was fun watching you all.
Yes.
I want to go back to the beginning, like I always do, talking
Okay.
about We Are Legends and how that team was very tight knit. Why do you think? I've asked this to Jason, I asked to Emily, but why do you think you all got along so well?
I don't know. We just naturally I think we just gelled. I think after seeing how, Typhon and that other guy, Maven, like, I don't think we had any type of like, hey, somebody's in here trying to just create unnecessary drama. You know what I'm saying? It was
Yeah.
mostly like, hey, guys, we're all playing this. We're all just speaking to each other. And it just felt like, just from an energy standpoint, everybody was like on the same page. And I think when we came up with a name, it was just kind of like we were really trying to really be like as competitive as we can, but also be like, you know, have a degree of humanness to it. You know what I'm saying? Like, eventually things are going to be, they're going to change. But I felt like we at least try to come with the thought of being very, very thoughts forward, speak forward and just be very honest about, how we felt as far as how we were going to be on a team. And I think that's why we gelled.
When Rita came to you about the four-person alliance, like, were you locked in immediately without those four?
For me, I was very much like, just from watching Survivor, I'm like, I got to play it to the best that's going to give me the farthest chance of getting into this game. So my whole thought was like, I could already see personality wise, just the questions that Rita was asking, I could see that she was going to be an ally that it would be good to have. So based on how our team was set up and just knowing that I didn't do the first game, I'm just like, hey, this is the alliance that I can get with, because my whole goal was just like, I don't want to come out and be the one trying to move parts and pieces, because then you already put your target. My whole goal was, let me see how this settles in, do what I do best as far as just like competing, and then start to take on, where I need to be coming into the place where it's like, okay, now I have to lead, or make some changes or challenges, and see if the folks will believe in that. Because I feel like as soon as you start doing that, then you can see that folks are gonna have ill will or certain thoughts about you. So my whole strategy was like, let me get to the alliance, but let me allow it to manifest and just be more organic than forcing it into something.
So did you realize that like Jason and Rita would be seen as like a bigger target, like they were leaders of the group?
Yeah, I mean, I could already saw that they were very much like, Jason was, with his military and his kind of his plan of it. I could see that they kind of took the part of the team, and so for me, it was just like, well, I know I fit into that because I'm not trying to overstep them, but I know I'm not lower than some of the other folks who I think are going to be competition wise. So my whole thing was, let me see how they manage this as far as being the leaders. Now, if it was going to get to where it was like a totalitarian or something like that, I'm like, then I would have made a pivot to maybe Riazo, Emily, and even Susan. But I felt like what they were speaking was just like, hey, let's use our strongest pieces, very much like chess, in a way that allows us to dominate this game. And I think we had that until the ship blew up. So I mean, I think that was the goal.
Before we get to the Susan and vote for Jason, what were your first impressions of Riazo and Susan as players?
Well, Riazo was like, he was just kind of, he's like a child, right? Like, he's like, to me, he's like almost like, I can see him as like my little son. Like, I'm just like, he's just gonna be that. I'm all over the place doing things. And Susan was just kind of, she was in and out. It'd be like outdoor Susan and indoor Susan. Susan's outside, there's a different kind of Susan. Indoor Susan's kind of more chill. So it's just kind of like, and she's a little bit older than everybody, but I'm just like, Susan's kind of in this. But when Susan goes outside, Susan's a different person than indoor Susan. So I'm just like, I don't know what Susan I'm gonna get. So I thought for the team they were valuable pieces, but I saw them more as pieces that you just had to move on the board how you needed to. Riazo, I didn't know he was that rogue until I saw till he
Yeah.
left. But then it was just like, wow, I didn't realize how much other stuff he was doing. Because he's just kind of like, you see Riazzo, and it's just like, who's at the big kids table? You know what I'm saying? Like, that's how I pictured it. Just like, he's going to be trying to do stuff, but he doesn't understand, like, these are folks a little bit older. He's in college. He's enjoying himself. They have just a little bit more understanding of the things I don't think he really understood. And I think that's what happened. And I think Susan was just, I think she kind of wanted something to stick to it. I think she had that in Jason, but I think it also got flipped at the same time with Jason and her.
We'll come back to Riazzo. The big debate over Susan on your team, and Jason got the main edit, but you were kind of agreeing with Jason, I think, about Susan not playing challenges. And then when Ashley and Mary come aboard, you and Jason also bring that topic up to them. Do you think you brought that up too soon?
Very too soon. Very too soon. I think I think we misplayed the hand of the feminine part of what that could be perceived as, right? I think going in, it was definitely the male, like, hey, you're going to do this and you're going to follow suit. And not knowing, we don't know Mary and Ashley as how they are. Like, I felt Mary would have very much fell into that. She'd have been like, okay, I'll do what you want. I've got to kind of protect myself. But I think we definitely didn't take into account. And I think even Rita said that. I guess they said, hey, you can trust Ashley or something like that. I don't think we took into account of how they were also two players who had been close to each other when they left, right? Like, they still had a bond that they wanted to keep. And so I think, diving into them and being so forthright with them, I think was the biggest mistake that, very much changed the trajectory of everything that was going to happen after that.
When Jason was voted out and you were blindsided, like, were you thinking you were screwed? Were you thinking were you hoping the merge was next? Because
I was thinking, fuck. I was just doing the math. I was just like, this is definitely gonna perceived as, Ashley ran with it. Dom and Jason had wanted this. Now Susan. So I'm like, damn, they got to come for me now, because now it's very much who's who, and your team isn't really what you were about. So it's just kind of like, merge or not, I'm just like, I don't have the allies that, because in that Jason vote, I now lost two other players, right? Because Susan was part of our team and I lose Jason. So it's just like, who are these girls? Now they're the ones who got over there, and we got to go over to this team to see what the hell's going on. And I didn't even get to talk to Rita about it. So it's just kind of like, who can I trust now? Because now I know the target's on me, because it's going to be the perception of, hey, they really tried to out Susan, and they're not, playing the game in a way that, they ran with that story from the Dar vote to everything. Like, it was very much put the target on me, and I could feel that. I'm just like, and then once it was kind of like, oh man, we are starting to lose the male counterparts, I'm like, this is going to be that much more difficult to figure out how I should play this.
I did feel like that was the moment that kind of lit the fire on your ass in the game, is when Jason was voted out. Because that's when you started winning challenges, because you did feel like the target.
I said win or go home. That's exactly what I felt. I'm like, I have to win. I'm like, I felt like Rita wasn't a target until she kind of started saying things, but I'm like, they've got this. Dom is doing this, and I'm like, I'm saying everything that I'm doing. Like, I'm not even like, I'm like, the whole who voted for Dara thing, you voted for Tabitha. I'm like, no, I didn't. Y'all are sitting here pointing this finger to create this story. I'm like, I don't even know Tabitha. Like, so it was very much of like, that's what I just was like, this is serious. I'm like, I didn't come in this game to be out this quick. I've got to really turn it up.
Before I forget, to circle back to Riazzo, why do you think he felt so like you were shady in the game, like he couldn't trust you in the game?
That was the craziest part to me with Riazzo, because I never, like, in our talks, like, I always looked at him like a little brother, a little son to me. So maybe he just felt like, but I don't know why he was like that. That's one thing I never understood, because I was very much I was playing where it was appropriate for me to play, but the part to be shady, I was just like, I was very much more, upfront with how I felt the team was going to be. And even with the Susan thing, I said it like, yeah, Susan, I did. I'm not going to say I didn't vote for you, because clearly you could see this, but I just didn't understand what I think Riazzo was more the relationship that me and Rita had is where he felt the shadiness was. Because I think his plan ultimately could have worked out. I was actually shocked that even Ashley wouldn't have gone that route to vote her out, because it made more sense from a competitive standpoint because of what Emily and Riazzo could have turned into. So, I thought what Riazzo was doing was, like I said, he was a kid in a maze who just got lost. He had so many traps that he forgot which trap that he said.
Yeah,
and that's kind of what happened to him. But as far as being shady, I think he just he just started. I think he started overthinking some of the things that I'm just like, it's right there in front of you.
At the beginning of the merge, did you ever consider, because you had that conversation where it was you, Dar, Riazzo. Did you ever consider actually maybe working with Dar and Muggsy and voting out Tabitha?
Well, the thing about it was I had so much to think about at that time to where it's just like, if I go this route, Dar is not saying anything. Dar's just kind of, he's just in the screen like this. It's just like I can't get a read on Dar at the same time to be like, and like you said, Riazzo, hell, even if I would have went that, who knows what Riazzo would have did from a vote standpoint, because he doesn't even trust me. So it's just kind of like, at that point, I've got to play the odds to get into the place where I need to be. And it was just kind of like, Tabitha's not showing up, so I don't know enough about her. And it's just like Dar and Muggsy seem to be the thorn in this team's back. So that gives me enough time to breathe while I can figure out another strategy of how we're going to be able to go. Because it was kind of like, if Dar would have said, hey, you know what, I think this is what needs to go on. But I felt like Dar was kind of just like Riazzo, just kind of playing both sides, where it's just like, at this point, I need conviction. And if I don't have it, then, you know, we got to just continue to move in a way that just allows the numbers to just kind of shift into the way that it will work. How ultimately I thought it was going to work was getting Ashley's ass out, but that didn't. So, but that was my whole point after that Jason thing, was like, I'm going to take her out. And I was just not stopping that at all.
I watched some of yours and Rita's reaction videos.
Mm-hmm.
There was some talk about, at one point, it seemed like you and Muggsy could have had an alliance going on, but that never came to fruition. Was it because she's just kind of wild?
She is wild for a minute. Like, we're just like, and I don't think I had another chat to then talk to that with Rita, because it's like, if we could have brought her on, because there was a part where I'm like, Muggsy, hey, like, you understand this, like, you're kind of in this, but Muggsy was such a target to everybody else. It was like, how are we going to be able to shift those votes? How are we going to be able to bring Muggsy on, but now put the target on us for working with Muggsy? Because she just had that level of like disdain around, and it was just kind of like, I can like Muggsy, but it's kind of like the Muggsy Dar thing. Like, if you become a 2, now you're going to become a 1, because eventually they're going to want to break that up. And so just bringing her a bit on that part of the piece, I couldn't have enough time to then bring that to Rita to be like, hey, let's bring Muggsy in this fold, because I really felt like if we would have did that, Muggsy eventually would have switched anyway. she would have flipped, just because that's her personality. She would have kind of went for it, and then she'd have been like, nah. But I think the Tabitha angle would have worked. But I felt that the angle that I chose for Tabitha was best for me in the game anyway.
What was your interpretation of the Muggsy Tabitha beef?
It is. I think it was related to Beverly being blonde. Tabitha definitely has a passive aggressive nature to her. Muggsy's definitely just straightforward, and I just think there's maybe in a former life they just didn't like each other. But I just felt like it was definitely some personal there. Like, I was just like, we just met these people. Like, how do you not like her? But I felt like Tabitha's personality compared to Muggsy's personality just is a clash. Muggsy's very like, aggressive. She's naturally just going to speak her mind, and Tabitha's gonna I wouldn't say play the victim, but she's gonna make it seem like she doesn't know when she also knows what's going on. So I think that rubbed Muggsy the wrong way, and Muggsy just saw it, and she was very much like, I don't like you, in a way that I was just like, yeah, that's not gonna be productive for us in the game, because with what we're trying to do and to getting there, it's going to cause some rifts. And I thought it was great as far as part of the scene, but I was just like, as far as getting into this survivor part of it, you're putting a different target that's not going to allow you to control at the same time.
We'll come back to the merge. I forgot to ask, when Typhon came to the team, was there any chance of you keeping Typhon? Did you ever have that thought?
In hindsight, it had made more sense to keep Typhon, but I think we were so close as legends at the time. The whole thought was like, is Typhon a mole? I mean, everything he was saying was overlooked, because he talked about Ashley, he talked about what Muggsy was doing. He had so much information, but that at the same time, it's just like, he's getting so much information to the point where it's just like, okay, I see why they voted him to us, because he's kind of in too many circles. You know what I'm saying? Similar to like Riazzo without, I would say Riazzo has a good charm about it. Typhon was just learning everything out to where it's just like, yeah, he might be the mole of this whole thing at the same time, to where it's just like, all right, we're not taking each other out. Typhon's got to go. That's exactly what I was just like. Throw Typhon in there. We need it. We just need to keep our team that we at least know each other strong. And I think that's how it worked.
You got a lot of flack on the podcast for your vote a couple weeks ago when you voted out Susan instead of Ashley. But last week when they saw your explanation, it kind of made more sense. But do you want
Yeah.
to talk about that vote?
I mean, in hindsight, to me, I looked at it like this, right? I finally got to out Susan for the vote that I know she did. And it was kind of like, I'm going to now take Tabitha to be my ally. Now, was I thinking that the switch of vote would then go to Ashley? No, because we didn't have enough time for me. If me and Rita would have talked, I would have said, okay, let's just vote for Ashley and just see how this goes.
Mhm.
But at the time of it, it was just like, I have now created something. Now I can break up this part of it while now bringing Tabitha into my fold. Because I was just like, Tabitha, that's all she wanted the whole time. Ashley is my target, but Susan is kind of, for me, in the vote, I felt it was going to be a split vote. So it was just like, even though I might have thought more of that on the emotional side because Susan kept voting me out, but I also was like, I've got to take somebody out to now grow me stronger into what's going to ultimately keep me to the final phase of it. Because I don't know, like I said, I didn't see the vote going that way to where Ashley would have been that, because I felt if it would have been two, I didn't think she would have switched it like that. So Susan really surprised me with that switch of vote part of it, because I didn't have enough time to her, but it felt like she was always believing what Ashley was saying. So if anything, at that point, she's still going to vote for Tabitha.
Yeah. And she did vote for Tabitha.
Yeah.
But, I mean, yeah, I think that was logical thinking from you because you didn't know the switch vote was going to be used.
I didn't know the switch was there.
Watching it back, is there any one or any moment that surprised you a lot?
The biggest thing is I was still so shocked at the Emily vote, because I felt, I'm like, they're gonna vote me out, and I'm like, I'm definitely not about to pull a Dar. I'm not about to pull nobody and not use my immunity. And then in hindsight, I'm like, I didn't have to use it. But that whole part of Riazzo telling her that, and then the switch, and then I don't know what would have happened if she would have just said, you know what, let me vote out what would break this team up, because I felt like she could have voted Rita. She would have had every power to do that, and to me, it made more sense to do that. So the Emily part, and then Emily not having the idol and not using it because she trusted Riazzo, who I'm like, I don't like Emily's whole story into what she was creating. I don't even know why she went to that angle, because I'm just like, they're not going to believe you. You know what I'm saying? Like, you just gotta figure that out. I thought that was one of the most, that part of it to me was like the biggest change in the trajectory of everything in the game, along with Jason, because I'm like, I finally get to get Ashley out. I'm so ready to get Ashley out. I'm about to celebrate this. And then it was just like, how in the hell did the vote get switched like this? And I remember at the time, I'm like, Rita, I remember after that, I'm like, we got to just figure this part out. And I think that's when we got the W immunity. But that was very much like, yo, we are now to the back. I was just
your backs were against the wall with that.
Yeah, super that. I was just like, what a chess move. What a chess move. But I was just like, at this point, it's win or go home every single time. And I think that was another fire that just lit, like, you know what I'm saying? And I think going to that point of like saving, Ashley, I guess in that point, it was just kind of to me like, what's going to make more sense to me when I get to the game if I know who's going to vote and who's not going to vote. And I think that's what I was kind of, mainly thinking.
You put in a lot of work with Tabitha towards the end to get her on your side, and then the vote off of Mary. How did you feel working with Tabitha?
I felt Tabitha was always just kind of like just floating, right? Because she was not at challenges. She did, she'd be at a hotel. She'd be in a taxi cab. So my whole thing was like, I've got to be able to switch one of them, because Mary and Ashley ain't going nowhere. Mary and I talk, and it's just like, I'm just looking at the wall, because Mary's not going to say anything to me. Even though the funniest thing is Mary talked so much more than I ever thought she was talking. So it's just like Mary actually was a very great competitor compared to what I would see as far as in the challenges.
Yeah.
So I just always felt like Tabitha kept going back to that vote, and I'm just like, but I felt like Tabitha just needed that push. And I was like, if I can get her the push to show like, how the hell did I vote for you if I won? And it was just like, I knew that would be like the ding, ding, ding moment for her to be like, okay, this is what I needed. Because I think that's all Tabitha really felt. She just needed that feeling of feeling like she was a part of something. So I was just like, if I can work with Tabitha to get there, then I'll have the odds. And to me, I mean, from the number standpoint, I'm like, there's not a big percent chance of Ashley winning all this. You know what I'm saying? Now that I've got this switch. So in my mind, it was just like, I'll go against one of these women, but if I just take out my bigger target here, I'll still be able to win, or at least get to the stage that I want to have that challenge.
Last thing, we'll talk more on the podcast, but
Okay.
I'm gonna play the game I played with Emily. I'm gonna say a name. I want the first few words that come to mind when
Okay.
I say their name. I'm
All
just
right.
gonna try and remember everybody by going in order of elimination. So we'll start with Typhon.
Meta. All I think is he's so meta.
Jason.
Strong-willed, empowerment.
Dar.
All over the place.
Muggsy.
Just a firecracker.
For sure.
She's the Phoenix. Like if in X-Men, she's the Phoenix.
Who was eliminated next? I think Emily.
Emily, very, very intelligent. I just think more book than street smart. That's probably Emily.
How about Riazo?
Riazo, man. He's like the Joker. He's a joy, but he's like the Riddler. You have no idea what the hell Riazo was thinking. Like I could almost sit and be like thinking with Riazo in a few years, I can see him doing some crazy shit. Like that's Riazo.
Susan
is Susan. It's like indoor Susan, outdoor Susan. I would say indoor Susan, outdoor Susan. Susan is like chill and wild at the same time. Like the fact that Susan has tattoos, and then like Susan's also like, I'm gonna vote this way, but I don't like voting this way. Like Susan's awesome in that standpoint.
How about Mary?
Mary's an enigma. She's like at parts of it. When she started talking about her game and like when she started talking about Rita, like me carrying her, I'm like, Mary's got a little more sass than I thought, because Mary would just be like, "Hey Dom," and she'd be like this, and I'd be like, "So," and it would just be like the longest chat. But then I'd see what she'd be doing as I watched it. I'm like, Mary's a whole different other person. That I'm like, I bet Mary's like super like different now after the game.
Tabitha.
Shoot. Tabitha's kind of a roller coaster of emotions. She's just kind of, she's up one minute and she'll just go right back down the next.
Rita.
A strong-willed, highly intelligent. Like I said, Rita was the truest competitor, I thought, the whole time, as far as what she stood on. And I think the fact that, not only did she to win the challenges and get where she got, I felt like, she played the game to me, the way that, she went in, everything, the questions she asked, the way that she went about things, and even able to just kind of overcome the things she had with, because she was saying a lot more things about the whole other team than even I was. And it was just like, Rita always had a way to like command, the room. So I'm just like, she did it all.
And quickly, Ashley.
Ashley was the chess, you know what I'm saying? When I think about like the 48 powers of law, like there's a part of me that I would say like there's a part of me that Ashley kind of almost flipped it on me too, because I wanted to vote Ashley so much that at the Susan vote, you're right, I still should have voted Ashley, but in the moment, I was almost like felt like I had to do this at the same time to get Susan out for just even being part of Ashley's team. So I feel like Ashley was, like I said, the queen pin, if you will, of the entire thing. She played it to a T. And like I said, some of the moves that I look back on with the Jason, the Emily, and even voted me, because I'm like, I don't even know. I think she might still win if it's me against her, but I know it'd be a lot harder to beat me based on what everybody saw. So she played an amazing game.
Well, I want to thank you, Dom. I have to get to my interview with Rita. So
get to that.
I will see you soon on the podcast.
Yeah, I'll see you soon. All right, Nick.
Thank you, Dom.
I have a big glare on my glasses. Oh, well.
Hello, everybody. I'm here with Rita, the runner-up in Online Survival 4. How's it going, Rita?
Good. How are you?
I'm good. Well, I always like to start. I like to go way back to the beginning of the game. You can take off your...
Sorry, this glare is bugging me.
Sorry. So going back to Team We Are Legends, I asked this to all your other counterparts. Why did you all click so well as an alliance? Or just not an alliance, but as a group before the alliance?
Probably because a lot of us had like very similar personalities, is what it seemed like. It seemed like a lot of us were like very analytical, and then maybe like a cut like me and Jason in particular were like more of like the social bunch of the group. So it's like we kind of like just like merged that together. So yeah.
You and Jason, but I think it was more so you kind of led the 4-person alliance to get started. Even though Jason kind of don't want to take it slow, but why did you take it so fast with the 4-person alliance?
Honestly, because I think that if I would have waited too long, kind of like what happened on the other team, people would have gotten like really suspicious. And so, which we kind of like saw that from the other team. It's like, when Dar didn't want to speak up, people were like super suspicious of him. And so it was kind of like solidifying those relationships like early on. So people weren't getting like super suspicious of that.
Watching back the other team, why were they so wild? Or why do you think they were so wild at first?
I think there's a lot of paranoia. I don't know. I can't speak for everyone else on the Legends team, but I know for me personally, I wasn't like coming in with a lot of paranoia. I didn't have any expectations with this, so I was just like kind of going with the flow, and whatever happened.
Watching back your team, why do you think, well, Susan didn't approach you, but why do you think nobody tried to have an alliance with Susan?
I don't know. I don't know. It's not like I didn't want to have an alliance with Susan, but I just didn't really feel like that like heartfelt like connection, I guess, that I felt with everyone else. And I guess I still like had like my like suspicions, which yeah, so I guess that's like why I didn't approach it. And I don't know, like Susan is a wonderful person, but I don't know if I would still make an alliance with her after watching.
I mean, she is a wild card.
She was a wild card. So, and I mean that in like the most heartfelt way, but so yeah.
Riazo was another wild card, but we're not going to get too into him yet. But when he first was on the team, what was your impression of him?
I honestly didn't really trust him that much. I was cordial with him and definitely like nice to him, but like, yeah, he was another one that I was like super like on the fence about. And I think like the only reason why I really trusted him was because of Emily, because I definitely trusted her. So, yeah, that was Riazo.
The one person you may have been a little paranoid about was when Typhon came over to the team. Was there at any point did you think maybe we should keep Typhon or no?
Looking back at it, I really wish that we would have kept Typhon because I think he had a lot of like insightful information. And I don't know why I was like so hesitant of trusting him, but I wish I would have gave him more of an opportunity or like a chance. Because he's definitely someone that I would have loved to work with. So yeah.
Do you think it was because you guys were just so tight at that point?
Probably, yeah. And I think it was just like we didn't want to like go in like hurting someone's feelings of like voting someone off, which, like now that I look back at that, I'm like, why didn't I hurt someone's feelings? Like I could have just done that.
Now, watching back you going to the other team, kind of, yeah, you went to the other team during the tribe swap.
Yeah.
And seeing Muggsy, Dar, Tabitha.
Mm-hmm.
Did you like how you approached that?
No, I think what I would have done differently is probably would have like pulled in Muggsy and Dar more. Maybe more like Muggsy than anyone, because Dar was still like, for me, like the wild cards of the season were Riazo, Tabitha, Susan, and Darstar, just because like there wasn't like a whole like read there. And it's like not so much that you couldn't read them, it's just like you knew that they were like planning to do other things and they weren't like wanting to really like articulate that. So yeah, but Bugsy, like honestly, like if she was on the original team, I probably would have like worked with her because like people from New York don't intimidate me. And if anything, like if, in the past, I've gotten comments of like, I'm too assertive, I'm too aggressive. So like that wouldn't have been an issue. She was just getting annoying because it was just like she was taking things way too personal. So I would have like tried to like reel her back in if I could have, but no.
When she's out there telling you about Tabitha, watch her eyes, did you believe any of that, or did you just think she was going too hard on Tabitha?
I think if she wasn't really coming from an analytical place, I think she was just coming from a I didn't like her, and everyone felt that. So it was just like it was hard to believe like really anything that she was saying about Tabitha on a game standpoint without like the anger coming through or anything like that. So that's why it was a hard time to like believe her on that.
Yeah, I think that's fair. Before you and Emily went to that team, Riazo had already gone to that team. Did you realize how many ties he had to that team?
Um,
Uh,
not Not really, because I think because of my tunnel vision, I was like looking at other people at that time. And Riazo really wasn't like he was like the middleman. So no, I wasn't like paying attention of how many ties that he had. But he was still always in the back of my mind, like I just didn't trust this character. So I was like, you know, waiting for that to like come out and show itself like organically because I knew he wasn't going to say anything.
you should say that he was like, you said something about how he was going to win the game, I think, at some point because of what made you think that?
Because he was like Rumpelstiltskin. Like he like literally didn't know where he stood at. And he was really good at just like, you know, being friendly with everyone without giving like too much away. And, you know, like no one caught him on his game at first. So absolutely like he could have definitely went far if he didn't get caught.
Were you surprised watching it back that he seemed to be coming for you, like you were one of his main targets?
Honestly, no. Like it did not surprise me that I was one of his targets because I am more outspoken and more like sociable. I expected to be someone's target. But it was very interesting, like the way that he articulated everything, like especially with like when he first got to the other group was like, you know, me and Jason were like these big hitters. And that was like subconsciously putting that thought in those people's brains. Like it's like they didn't think anything of it then because it didn't sound negative. But in realization, it was like, it was that lingering thought like, hey, these people are going to be a threat.
Yeah, he was definitely trying to plant some seeds against you.
Yeah.
Now we all saw your reaction and Emily's reaction when the Jason was voted out. You guys were shocked and appalled.
Yeah.
Was that the moment that kind of led to some tunnel vision on your end? Was
Probably.
it like was it revenge or what were you?
No, I think it was just like a hey, okay, people are actually playing this game now. And where I was like, you know, I was absolutely playing checkers. I was like, kumbaya, guys, we're all getting along. And then Jason got voted out, and I was like, oh, tunnel vision time. It's chess time. So yeah, like he was my main alliance. And I think like the only reason why I went so hard on it is because I felt partially responsible for it. So that's like the
Why
only
did you feel
reason.
responsible?
Because I told him after Tabitha told him that he could trust Ashley, I told him he could trust Ashley. So he probably had those lingering thoughts as well in his subconscious, like, hey, I can trust this person more than maybe like the original person that was on our team. And so like, and if me or Tabitha would have not said that, maybe he would have gunned for, you know, Ashley or Mary. So, but we'll never know.
When after that happened, it was kind of you, Dom, Emily, and then you guys thought maybe Riazo too.
Emily thought Riazzo. Me and Tom were like, no.
You already said that you kind of wish you would have worked with Muggsy, so you still would have voted out Dar first, or do you wish you would have voted out somebody else first at the merge?
I don't know. I really don't know. I probably would have still voted out Dar first just because like I didn't know where the guy stood at. And you know, talking back with him, he was playing a very solo game. So that and automatically that makes that like raises hairs like on my end, like, hey, this person doesn't want to work with anybody. He might not be that trustworthy. So yeah, he probably still would have been a vote on my book.
What Susan got, I think both you and Susan maybe kind of tried to, I don't know, were you guys hurt with each other, or was it just like a game thing during the game?
I was never hurt with anyone. I am an extremely truthful person, and I'm analytical, and I really can't hide my emotions that well. So I'm like, you know what? I might as well just tell these people, like, hey, I don't have trust for you guys after like the whole Jason vote. Not to say that I don't like you guys, like that's like an overstep because I think that was like something that got switched up a bit, but. No, I just didn't like trust them, and it wasn't like anything like personal. It was just like, you know, it was like, why should I trust you guys after like you voted like the person that I'm working with? That's like if like Ashley, if I voted out Mary right away, like she probably would have gunned for me. Same with like Susan, if I would have got like if I decided to get like Riazzo or Emily out because she was working with those two, like she probably would have been like, oh, I'm gonna get Rita out next. So it was kind of like that ordeal.
You weren't a part of that vote, and like Susan was really going hard for Dom after that. But do you think you and Susan could have still worked together after that, or do you think it was too far gone because you didn't trust her?
I tried to talk to her, but in that one, it was like one conversation that we did have, and it was just the way that she was talking. It did not like. Tabitha, that's like the weird thing is like with her, like when I talked to her, she spoke with more conviction and it was like I could trust her. But with Susan, it was like very like up in the air conversation. And it was just like there wasn't like it was like, hey, Rita, what are you doing for me to trust you? But it was never like, hey, what is she doing for me to trust her?
Yeah,
and so that's like, for me, that's why I was like, we're probably not going to work together because I can just like feel that through the screen. So
let's talk about, I guess, Ashley. You're in the comments at times you guys were going at it a little bit, but I think you guys have talked about it since then, right? Was there any hurt feelings there? Was it all game related there too?
For me, it was all game related. I had no idea my comment got deleted, Dick. Thanks a lot so much. Just kidding. I was like, my comment got deleted. What?
I'd be a little crazy about spoilers sometimes.
I know. I'm sorry. If I did something to like spoil that, that was not my intention.
I know.
Yeah. But no, I never had any hard feelings. Like I said, I am a very truthful person, and some people like take that in like the wrong way. But at least at the end of the day, like, you know where I stand. Like, at least I'm not like going behind like someone's back and saying, oh, this person's like, you know, cocky. This person's like, she's being a bitch. Like, I'm not doing that because that's like not really my personality. So, yeah.
Do you wish you would have gone behind some backs a little bit?
I don't know if I would have been able to handle it mentally. Everyone was scrambling through this entire season going behind people's backs. So and that's probably why it looks so easygoing because I wasn't doing that.
That round when Emily is voted out and because of the swap of vote, were you surprised Emily didn't use her idol?
Oh man, or did you? I was so shocked. Yeah, I was shocked.
Did you all think the target was Dom that round?
I honestly thought it was all of us. And I guess I could have articulated that better to my alliance. But because Dom came out of that other team and, you know, he voted Susan, like everyone was gunning for him. And for me, that's kind of why I did confront everyone the way that I did, to kind of take like a little bit of that target off his back. So they knew like he had that support. But with Emily too, it was like it kind of like made it was kind of known that she was working with us, especially like when her and I switched over to the other side. So I figured that they would be targeting all of us, and I thought maybe she would have used it.
That is the round when Riazo was doing a lot. I mean, his goal, I think, was to get the powers out of the game, which he kind of accomplished. But
He did.
after that, though, you did not trust Riazo anymore. Not a lot of you trusted Riazo anymore.
No.
Did he just overplay that round?
Absolutely, yeah, he did. It kind of like outed him, and I think like for me, like I misjudged a little bit of what I thought originally, but still like he was playing both sides. So it wasn't like that far off on a misjudgment. So yeah.
The other big thing around that part of the game was Susan voting for Tabitha, kind of trying to pin it on Dom. Did you suspect Susan, or did you not know who was voting for Tabitha?
I actually did not know who was voting for Tabitha. And I think like there was one of those votes too where like my camera wasn't working that well. And I think another one I was like out. So it was just kind of like I didn't really like get to see all of that drama like unwrap the way that it was. But I don't when I did chats, I don't really remember people like coming to me and be like, Dom voted out Tabitha, because like automatically they would have already known my answer.
Yeah, they probably didn't want to tell you that.
Yes. I mean, I didn't get confronted with that, so there was no reason for me to talk about it, I guess. But yeah.
So you kind of like started the game with Jason, but then it seemed like by the end, Dom was like your duo, even it was getting called out in the game all the time. Was it just because you guys were so loyal?
Yeah, probably. It was like the same with Ashley and Mary, you know. Like I think like that we were like the two most like loyal duos out of the whole season. Because what Tabitha kind of turned on Typhon the first time. Mary was with Typhon and Tabitha, but that relationship never solidified. And then Susan, Riazo, and Emily were like a little bit of a thing, but that didn't really go anywhere. So yeah, I think it was just like an automatic, everyone knew because we had the alliance. So it was like, it would have been hard to kind of hide that. Like, I don't know how we would have been able to be like, no, I'm not with Dom.
No, I think you would have been able to.
I don't know. If you have any pointers, let me know.
I'll think about it. Well, I think by that point, it's so late in the game, it's like kind of obvious.
Yeah.
Watching it back, who surprised you the most?
Probably Riazo. Even though I didn't trust him, like I didn't know like how far he was into the game. So yeah, his moves like were definitely like the most shocking, where you're just like, oh my god, this little Rumpelstiltskin.
That is a great name for the way Riazo was playing. Well, I'm going to play a game that I played with Emily. I just played it with Dom too. I'm gonna say the person's name. I want the first few words that come to mind once I say their name.
Okay.
I'm gonna try to go in order of people that were eliminated. I hope I didn't forget anybody with Dom, but we'll find out. First person, Typhon.
Talkative, observant, and I don't know, happy.
How about Jason?
Assertive, leader, and trustworthy.
What did you think watching back, Jason, that vote? Do you think he and Dom mentioned Susan's name too much? Like too soon to the other, like Ashley and Mary?
I absolutely do, yeah. I mean, I tell Dom this all the time, and I think I told Jason this when we filmed like one of our other episodes. But I definitely would have like gotten out probably Mary first. And because I never had a conversation with Mary, so that was like nothing personal. It's like I did talk to Ashley once, and at that time, like we kind of had established like a little bit of that bond. So it probably would have been Mary first. Like Susan wouldn't have been like really a resort to like vote out at that point.
How about Darstar?
Quiet, observant, and oh man, this is a word that's on the top of my tongue, but I can't really think of it right now. Sneaky.
He was a little sneaky at times for sure. How about Muggsy?
Loud, proud, and I don't give a fuck attitude.
Yeah, for sure. How about Emily?
Oh, sweet, observant, and just intelligent.
How about Riazo?
Rumpelstiltskin. Sneaky. Oh man, what's the term that they use in Skyrim? He's like I can't remember it, but it's like he's stealthy. There you go.
He was stealthy until he did too much. How about Susan?
Susan, sweet, carefree, and I don't know. I don't really have another one for Susan. Carefree and kind of edgy.
She can be actually.
Yeah, I like that.
Who was next? I think Mary.
Mary, quiet, a little sassy. That's what I was not expecting from Mary. And observant.
Were you surprised that Mary thought so hard that Dom was carrying you?
No, I think it was just like funny because it was like the first time I had heard about it. So it was like me reacting to it. But I could see why she would think that, even though it like I was like the one trying to take the target off of Dom. And so I think maybe in that retrospect, like I did succeed on that because it was like just like trying to shield him as much as possible for not being voted out. So
how about Tabitha?
Tabitha, Vegas. I don't know. I really liked Tabitha. Sweet and just like easygoing.
How about Dom?
Dom, analytical, tech savvy, and loyal.
Ashley.
Ashley, leader. I'm not gonna say manipulative, but definitely
you better not.
Definitely tactical. And fierce.
Is there any regrets you had in the game? Do you wish you would have done one thing differently?
No, because
I mean, you still made the end, so
I didn't want to be scrambling like everyone else. Like I just like I could like feel like the tension sometimes, like with some of these group conversations, and I was like, what is this tension in the air right now? Like it's so heavy. So I was like, I didn't really want to do all of that. So I don't think I would have played it any other way.
Would you ever play again?
Oh yeah, absolutely.
If you do, what's your biggest lesson you learned?
My biggest lesson?
Yes.
Ooh.
And on a game level, anyway.
On a game level, I would probably not be so reactive, and just kind of like pull that in a little bit more. Because even if like, hey, like even if you're a truthful person, you know, like at the end of the day, like people do get hurt. So it's like you can't really control like how you make people feel. So just like maybe pulling that back just a little bit and like maybe just not being like so reactive towards people and not like trying to intentionally hurt their feelings, even though I wasn't intentional with it.
Yeah. No, I don't think you're ever intentional at all. We'll talk again on the podcast here in a bit, but any final thoughts on the season?
Oh man, Nick, you did such a wonderful job. Like, I feel like you don't get enough praise for what you
Thank
do.
you.
But yeah, like you made this season so exciting. And yeah, it's just like a great community just to like be in and just be involved with. So yeah, thank you for creating this.
Of course, and I'm glad you guys played. I think you guys were a great cast. It was easy to make good episodes out of a great cast.
Oh yeah, and Alex, I don't talk that much.
Well, you could tell into his face here in a bit. All right. Thank you, Rita. I will see you soon.
Okay, bye.
Hello, everybody. I am here with the winner of Online Survival 4, Janessa, aka Ashley, in the game. How's it going, winner?
I'm truly blessed and highly grateful. Thank you for asking.
I mean, so much to talk about, honestly. Where to even begin?
I know.
I like to go way, way back to the beginning. Going back to your team, the messy team, I think, as a lot of people were referring it to. Why were you all so messy at the beginning?
I didn't even, and it's so crazy because I didn't even realize that we were so messy. Like, I'm just like, I felt like, I guess, because I went into it saying this was a game. So we all, like, I felt like on that side, we all kind of had the mindset that this was the game. And the game was when it's time to vote on each other, you have to already have an idea of who you're going to vote, because losing a challenge is not the time to then try to figure out who needs to go.
True. I mean, I feel like you guys were referred to as messy more so because in comparison to the other team, they were so big team, we're all together, and then on the other side, you guys were so like there were so many splits. That's kind of what.
No.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I could see why it was perceived as messy. However, in comparison, for game purposes, how the other team, in my opinion, was playing, they had Susan and Riazo feeling like it was a team, and it wasn't from the beginning. At least our side knew we are not together.
Fair. I don't disagree with that. Watching the other team before all the tribe swapping, was there anything that surprised you at the beginning of that tribe?
Yes, that Emily, not necessarily surprising, because I remember at one point I mentioned how I felt like she was trying to dazzle me and like slip something in her pocket. It makes sense. She said that she graduated from school for psychology. So she was trying to get in my head. I could see her doing that.
Let's go back to the Typhon vote where it was you and Darstar that really kind of drove that vote, in my opinion. Darstar and Muggsy were trying to come up with a plan to either get out Tabitha or Typhon, but I feel like you definitely made sure it was Typhon.
Yes, I did.
I think you did feel like Typhon was a threat, but why?
Yes. So when I was first, I have to say I was wrong. I thought in the game, I thought that Typhon had went over there and started to, I mean, from what Muggsy said, he did, but I didn't remember seeing anything about it. I didn't really see if they had discussed that they were going to like look out for each other. It was so quick. It did, and then the way she was playing, it could have been made up. However, I didn't see enough of what I thought was evidence that he had went over there during the 4-3 split and had created any alliances, like solidified anything with them. So I have to admit that was obviously my paranoia getting the best of me. And you see that in that game, in that episode, like I am really, losing it. So I just wanted to own that first. And then, but Typhon was a leader still type. He still was the leader. And I could see where he and Tabitha, I didn't know, but just based on how like you choose people to talk to, and then in the Shack chats, how the conversations go, I realized there may have been a little validity to what Muggsy was kind of saying. It was hard because it did seem like she was getting personal. But like on a game stance, I was seeing something in Tabitha, but also I was seeing something that I still just needed to trust her as an ally, you know. But when I felt like she was getting closer to and that was the whole thing. Like I said, Typhon from the beginning just seemed like a leader. So we already know in these games, if you're a leader type, I'm going to eventually have to follow you.
Yeah.
Or I get picked off.
Going back to Tabitha, before you and Mary bonded, was Tabitha like almost your number one?
You know, I feel like, yes, to answer your question, yes, I just want to elaborate. Because like when I watch it back, I'm just like, I didn't realize that I don't know. I think I got caught up in the craziness of everything. I didn't realize like Mary was really playing. At some point I should have changed. That's where I didn't pivot. I should have changed what the final three looked like after I start seeing people were not trustworthy. I should have gone back and reconsidered that the final three that I thought I seen in the beginning had to have changed as well, because all these players are changing
So are you talking about the final
in
three
my
of you,
mind.
Tabitha, Riazo? Was that your
I'm
initial
sorry?
final? What was your initial final three? Was it you, Tabitha, Riazo?
Yes. See, that was my thing. I think I had too many things going on, and it was too many things hitting me, and I forgot to go all the way back. I forgot that had to have changed. At some point, I didn't go back to the vision board and see what does the end look like. I think I was nervous. I think I was scared. I was afraid to look.
I mean, you might not have changed the vision board, but I feel like throughout the game, you had a good. You said during a travel council that you didn't feel like you had a good pulse on the game, but by the end of each round, you always had a good pulse on the game.
You know, I always check in. I just did. I check in. How am I supposed to be feeling? Where am I supposed to be at? You know, and trusting in me and trusting in the Most High, which is just balance, which is what other people call God, you know, which is the universe, which is whatever, you know. Just trusting in it, you know, and knowing that as long as I'm playing like with my morals and doing the best that I can and doing things to where I feel like it's the right decision, it's gonna work itself out.
I want to get back to that, but we have to get to the Jason vote while we have time, because that was such a big part of the game. You get the tribe swap. Susan almost quits, but before that, Jason and Dom are already mentioning that she's not playing in challenges, and that's a detriment to the team. Once again, even though you did a good job during the episodes, in my opinion, but walk us through that vote.
Okay, so right. I really just wanted to go on that team, just do what I was told and get back to the final three I was trying to create. And with Mary, you know, see what was going on, what I could gather together, maybe talk to Muggsy and see if I could put something together. Because I realized that We Are Legends, they had a solid thing. You know, they had a solid thing. And if we didn't get it together, I had been on the in and I was like going to get out and like rally the troops and we were going to ride down or whatever, right? But with Riazo, but I wasn't really sure because Dar did say he seemed like he might have been a spy, which, right. So, but when I got in there and I remembered that Rita said to trust Jason. And even though I had decided that Jason couldn't be trusted, when when Susan confirmed she did not want to quit, there was something more that she wanted to talk about, and that's why I was glad that I was able to talk to her. And she gave me two different sides. She was like trying to work me. Like she gave me the side of she was feeling sad because it was either going to be me or Mary, that she had connected with me, but it was going to be either me or Mary. So that was the first thing. I'm like, she connected with me, but she was concerned about Mary. Okay. She was connected with me, but she was concerned about both of us. Okay, that's already inconsistent, because she's basically saying she's not sold on how she felt. And then when I didn't bite on that, because this is the reason I didn't bite that. I didn't bite that because I knew if I had sided with her at that time, it was not going to work. The merge was not going to work. I was not going to be able to tell Rita that Susan told me that Jason was going to vote me. She had already told me to trust Jason.
Mm-hmm.
She had already told me that. So I did not. I was just like, oh, Susan, oh, okay, but you're okay. Like, you're checking on her, her mental health and stuff, just making it like, if you want to go, I'll do this for you. And then she said, I really think that they're after me. Loyalty, nobility. This I can stand for.
I mean, Susan really was looking for someone to be loyal to the whole beginning of the game.
I didn't know that. And that was amazing. She was looking for someone who was to be loyal to, and loyalty is what it gets you through for me. Honesty, like loyalty, because once you get loyalty, I felt like with loyalty you got honesty, but I forgot it's a game. So I was missing that too. That was the crucial part. See, that Susan kind of foiled my game and forced Tabitha's hand as far as I was concerned. So I couldn't even be mad at Tabitha for that, because by me choosing to bring on Susan, choosing to take that risk on, it meant that it's going to hurt. That is going to hurt. That's literally like going to have to soft my right arm at some point. But I needed to get out of that. I had a bear trap on my ankle. I needed to get out of that.
That move to get out Jason right before the merge definitely changed the game, because it was a numbers game that was changed.
Yes.
And you did realize that, yes, when the move was making.
Yes. Yes.
Go ahead.
Mm-hmm.
Going into the merge, though, it was still a numbers game, but you were getting rid of Dar, getting rid of Muggsy, and you kind of let it happen. But I mean, I think that kind of worked out for you too.
Yes, it did. It while I was watching the podcast, Alex and them, it was at the same moment they were like, now she needs to lay low.
It was literally
bingo.
And you did. You laid low for 2 rounds.
Those are the 2 rounds. Yep.
During you laying low, though, somebody was not laying very low, and that was Riazo. Were you watching back Riazo? What did you think of his game? He was doing a lot of background work.
Yeah, he was. Yes, he was.
Did you realize he was doing so much when you were playing?
No, absolutely not. Absolutely not. And that is why this whole thing is so wild, because it's like, how can you know? How can you know?
You can't always know. It's true. What did you think Riazo was doing? Like, what did you think of his game during the game before this next round we're going to talk about?
No, I didn't know what he was doing, but I knew that I needed to keep an eye on him when the merge happened. Well, I knew I need to keep an eye on him when I got back. So when the merge happened, because he had been over there and he was able to rekindle if there was anything to rekindle with Rita and Emily. I knew that. And so I just knew to keep an eye on him, and then I would know the moment would present itself to me when I seen the shift in our relationships. I would see it.
What were you seeing?
Like exactly how I said to Emily that it should have been an open line of communication, at least with 3 of us, and it wasn't. And Riazo wasn't even trying to like open that doorway. And he actually, I believe he left first. He left the conversation first. And so that was the whole thing. It was just, if you're not open with me anymore, who are you open with? And then Emily was like, oh, we'll talk about that. And I'm okay. So he's open with her.
That round was fascinating to watch because one, I didn't know it was going to happen. I don't know if you knew it was going to happen because you were getting so much information from Riazo. It really came down to the wire of you voting for Emily, the last part of the round. And I think you had two big moves, and they were both equally. We had a lot of big moves, but these were the two biggest moves: getting out Jason, voting out Emily. This goes back to your check-ins that I want to talk about again. Is that what happened with this Emily vote at the last minute?
You're saying like my minute to meditate and call on the Most High and ask what I'm supposed to be doing?
Yes.
Yes. Yes. Yes. Oh my God. Yes. Yes. Yes.
What was the thought process behind the Emily vote? As long as Rita was in the game, I knew who was after me. So what does that mean for Emily then?
At that point, she was who strengthened Riazo. And it's crazy because I didn't know, but while I was thinking that, he was actually planning on getting rid of Tabitha, getting rid of me, and then taking Mary and Susan to final 3.
Yeah, he kind of wanted to take your spot, I feel like.
So I don't know. I really truly believe that I was being communicated with. Yeah, absolutely.
Well, it was like I said, the end of every round, I felt like you had your pulse right on it.
Yeah, I have to say it was not me. It was not me. It was not me. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons that I acquired my spiritual name, which is Janessa. It means God is gracious. Because this was it was like my testing ground. It was like, hey, you're up. And like some days I'd wake up in the morning and I'm like, oh, God, I don't know that I can do this. I don't know that I can go to that computer.
I didn't know I was stressing you out that much.
It wasn't stressing me out. It was just, I have overcome so much, in life. That's what I was saying at one time. I had cried during one of the competitions and I was like, I needed this in life, I've just been through so much. And to know that I do have something in my life that can help me stand and face anything. Because I'm going to tell you right now, this stuff rocks. This stuff rocks. I really wish I could go on one of these like big name reality shows. But there are some things that I struggle with, I'm an everyday American, so something there.
Yeah, I feel you there. Have you ever applied to any of them?
Not yet. I'm building up. This was my first step. I'm thinking about going on. I don't know if I can say names of other ones, but I have 2 that I'm thinking about applying for though.
Good. I hope you do. They're
like baby steps, but yeah, this was the first step, and I'm really excited because I think I'm good at this. I think, I think
I would say so after watching
my brain and my connection to the universe, it likes me there. It's like, this is where it wants me. So, yes.
Circling back to the end of the game where you had to, before you had to win some competitions to stay alive. How did you feel after the Mary vote? Were you thinking you were
okay
3-on-1?
No, thank you so much for bringing this up. I'm just checking in what I can say, okay? Because listen, it took everything in me. Like I'm like, all I keep hearing is jury management, jury management, jury management, jury management. And I'm just like, did she just say it's 2-on-2? Like, I love Tabitha. We are still in touch. You know, I love her to death. But game wise, I am like, did she just say 2-on-2? It is not 2-on-2. Last tribal, you were saying you're against me. Come on. But all I kept hearing was jury management, jury management.
I mean, it's good thing you, I guess, kept it together with your jury management. Did you consider
no.
voting her out, Tabitha?
Remember, you you asked us. You asked me. I had my children. I was like, look, I love Nick. Listen to what he said. He gave me the floor. You said you do realize you don't have to vote with Tabitha. And see, that was the whole thing. Like when Tabitha was like, oh, how are we gonna do this? What are we gonna do? I was quiet. I was like, yeah, what are we gonna do? And so they were like, Dom and Rita or somebody was like, we can do 2-on-2. And I'm like, they're the ones setting this up. I guess they're trying to show her some loyalty. So okay, whatever, I'll go with it. That's fine. You know, so they're like, we can do 2-on-2. And that's when she's like, you know, Tabitha's like drilling it in that it was always 2-on-2. And I had to say, what 2 are we talking here? Because I wanted everybody to understand. Let's not just assume that I'm choosing any 2, that I'm going any which way. What 2 are we talking here? So I got my, thank you, Most High. I got my couple, my soft jabs in, you know, even when it came to talking with Dom, which I appreciate him talking to me. And he was like, whatever he asked me. And I said, I had asked him, I said, so you're comfortable, excuse me. I said, so you guys are comfortable with the 2-on-2? You know, it was like, I was letting him know, like, I'm giving you guys the option because I'm open, you know? And I think he picked it up because he said, yeah, we're comfortable with it. We're comfortable with it. He did come back around and say something like, unless, you know, there was something, it was very subtle, but it was just, I felt like it was just too subtle for you guys been gunning for me this whole time.
Yeah.
Even though he did not technically save me with Susan, even though I'm appreciative for the move. I appreciate the move. I really do. But he did that because he said, like, he was just, you know, he wasn't thinking they had enough votes. And so he was voting who he really wanted to vote. So he kind of was like doing like Susan and a couple of them who were just throwing votes wherever they wanted because they didn't have numbers. I don't got the numbers. I'm going to just put it where I want.
Yeah, he wasn't saving you at all. But
no, absolutely not. Absolutely not. He was just throwing his vote away. But I appreciate it because it saved me.
Yes, it saved
But you see, he kicked himself in the butt. He's like, every time he's like, man, I shouldn't have done it. I don't know what I was thinking. That's how I know you didn't do it to save me. You would have been like, did the right thing. Now, you know, she gets to go.
We're unfortunately winding down on time. What was the most, 2 questions. What was your favorite part of the season? And what surprised you the most watching it back?
My favorite part of the season is really being able to see myself using the tools that I've collected over the years to help me in a low risk situation to stick to something to its entirety and its completion, no matter how hard it gets. As long as I remember, I'm not alone. I'm never alone. I walk with everything that is wanting balance and peace, you know. And this, like I said, the best part of it was just being able to be on it. And I appreciate you for that, Nick. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Really, truly. And the second question was, what shocked me the most? correct?
Yes, or surprised
Okay.
you the most watching it back?
My I mean, I might kind of sound self-centered, but I watched everybody else playing, you know, but they were all really great players, so I feel like I'm around like I feel like I've met celebrities, you know, so that's kind of cool. But really, this was like a growing experience for me. So when I looked back at it, I really was just looking to see where I could like improve in life. But what shocked me the most was my ability to maneuver because I didn't even get like even when it got to the point where I was like watching and they were like Ashley, you know, Megan and Alex and them, they were like, this is an opportunity where you could manipulate, you know, I could have manipulated Tabitha, but it's not manipulate the word manipulate, even though I looked it up and it has a positive connotation when you use empathy and reason and trust and understanding and all the good stuff. For
Mhm.
me, it always had just a negative connotation to it, you know? So, but it would have been a perfect opportunity, even with the negative connotation to it. Cause I even thought to myself, like, oh, while I was watching it, I said, okay, good. I can answer your question. Here it is. Sorry. Um, what shocked me the most was not choosing the opportunity to even just throw my vote on them. Because, like, what better way would it have been for the game to like stick it to? I thought the better way to stick it to Tabitha was let her like tie break herself out. So that's why I was willing to go
Which
down
she
that
did.
road. But the other yeah, which she did, yes. But the other option could have been, which I didn't think at the time. This is what I thought while I was watching it. What the other option could have been on the table was I could have just I knew she was going to vote Rita. I could have just voted Dom. And then those two votes, their two votes, the votes that she chose to side with, would have been the votes that sent her home because she went to jury and said, oh, I didn't get voted out.
True.
But you would
Yeah. Well, unfortunately, I got to get to the podcast, but
have.
you will join us on the podcast. But I'm glad you
Yes.
had such a great experience, and I'm glad you use it as a tool for your real life. And do you have any quick final thoughts for this exit interview?
I think that I said enough. I feel like I talked maybe too much. I want to say that this was epic. This was definitely life changing, game changing. I think that it was a great idea. I think you should follow your dream, whatever. Preferably, if making another one is your dream, I'll be there. I
Yeah,
will
I did
be
want. We'll
there.
talk about it during the podcast. I did want to talk about you playing again, but we will see how it goes.
Yes,
I want to thank you for joining me. I'm glad you had a great experience. I think you're an epic winner. I think definitely played an epic game, and yeah, it was fun to watch you play. Very great player.
I did want to say one more thing. I'll try not to fangirl when I see the past cast members because I definitely feel like they're celebrities to me.
All right. All right. Thank you. I will see you soon.
Thank you. See you soon.